All right, I'm going to start that over. My name is Maggie Gissel. I'm the Executive Director for AIESEC Life, the Alumni Association for AIESEC in the United States. Thank you so much for joining us today for our annual stakeholders meeting. This meeting is typically held in person after the fourth quarter AIESEC US Board of Directors meeting in New York City. But like last year, this stakeholders meeting is being held virtual once again. It allows for many more alumni to join our call, so for that, we're very grateful. But hopefully someday we'll be back in person in New York City. Just a few housekeeping notes. If you could please mute yourselves during this presentation. And if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. We have Marina from AIESEC US staff here with us, and she can hopefully answer some of your questions in real time. And if not, we'll have some time at the end of the call for Q&A. We are recording this session, and I'll make it available to everybody sometime this week. Before we hand it over to MCP Haley Wickman, before she begins, I would like to introduce to you the new chair of the AIESEC US Board of Directors, Mr. Andrew Lewis. Andrew will also be joined by Eric Anderson, who's on the call with us today. He is the outgoing chair and current vice chair of AIESEC United States Board of Directors. I've had the pleasure of working with both Andrew and Eric for the last few years. They are incredibly committed alumni. They have done an amazing job stewarding AIESEC US and guiding the MC through a very difficult 18 months. They're going to take a minute to share with you their perspective and share with all of us. And thank you again for being here today. And I'll hand it over to Andrew and Eric.
Andrew, can I say a couple of things?
Please, Eric.
Great. I just want to say, thank you, Maggie, for the gracious introduction. Thank you all for being here today. As you heard from Maggie, and you probably heard before too, my term as chair expired after 3 years. And so I'm happy to remain on the board for another year, as is our bylaw policy as the vice chair, and help out Andrew. But I certainly want to wish Andrew and Haley all the best of luck in their leadership challenges in the roles they've assumed. And just know that we're all out here backing you guys up and cheering you on. And thank you to all of you guys for, it's been great working with you for the last couple of years. Andrew, I'll turn it over to you.
Eric, you've totally undersold the amount of work that you did as chair over the last several years. The AIESEC Future Project, helping to align a strategic vision for AIESEC in the United States, and certainly the hands-on work that you did over the last 18 to 20 months with the last 3 MCs to guide them through COVID. And as all of you who joined last year's stakeholders meeting, and those of you who have probably been reading some of the messages and certainly have seen the impact of COVID on international travel, you certainly know that AIESEC in the United States and AIESEC International has faced a number of very, very difficult decisions and really a service interruption. And Eric's leadership on the US board was pivotal to, I think, helping AIESEC in the United States be successful and be in the position where they are now.
Really small numbers.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go on today. What I just wanted to highlight real quickly before I turn it over to Haley to talk about what she has in her vision, which I'm so excited that she's going to be sharing with all of you, is really just to say, as chair of AIESEC, the US board, I'm really excited about the support from this group. And really, this is a call to action. And throughout, I think, the next 90 minutes, you're going to repeatedly hear a call to action and a need for your engagement and support. We're at a pivotal moment and a pivotal time, not only in terms for our country and our health, our nation, our world, but also really AIESEC is also at a pivotal point too, having weathered a very difficult storm, but in a position, I think, to serve our community and serve on the world stage in a really important way. And so our engagement as leaders, as alumni, is going to be really important to help Haley and her team achieve this incredible vision that they've laid out in this moment, this really important moment that matters in the history of AIESEC. So as chair of the board, I'm working hard on trying to create additional board opportunities. And so I also have another ask here. If anyone knows of someone you think would be a valuable resource for the US board, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, Haley, Maggie, or Eric, if you have some ideas as we look to try to also enhance our board presence to create new external opportunities and help AIESEC in the United States expand the number of traineeships as well that they're providing here in the United States, and having the support of all of you would be an important step in that. So with that, let me turn it back over to you, Maggie, and I think Haley's up next to provide some of her perspectives and her overview.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Eric and Andrew. And yeah, this is really about Haley bringing to you what they've been working on and what the next year looks like for them. So I'm going to hand it over to Haley, and at the end, we'll go over some of the programs that AIESEC Life has been involved in and how that helps the LC members and AIESEC US. I have a few guests who are going to help explain some of our programs to all of you once Haley has a chance to tell her story. So go, Haley, it's all yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And my name's Haley. If you have yet to meet me, nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us on a lovely Monday afternoon. I'm originally from San Jose, and now I'm super excited to be serving as MCP. And this year, I also uniquely are presenting the year review of the past term and then the way forward for 21-22 because of the date. So double duty, but super excited. So just to give a little refresher about our programs, there are 3 main AIESEC exchange programs globally. Global Volunteer, this one is currently dormant. It went dormant March 2021, and globally entities will be able to reopen this program if they choose to next spring around April if they meet certain criteria. The reason for this dormancy of the program is primarily because in the pandemic, many of these approvals, as in students who are signed up to go abroad to volunteer, were not actually realizing and landing in their experience because of the pandemic. So this is one that, because of the risk, the high risk, it was set to be dormant. And then there's a new program called Global Teacher. It is similar to Global Talent in the, the bread and butter of AIESEC US, the professional traineeships, internships. It's similar in the way that it's short-term or long-term and paid, but the Global Teacher is a professional teaching opportunity. So this just opened and started last year in 2021 term. And there's 3 customer flow stages. The first is open, when the student signs up, or when the company signs a contract, like opening the opportunity. And approvals when the student or EP exchange participant pays and they get approved to go abroad. And realize is when they actually realize in the country of origin to start their exchange. So going to that, I have 2 main graphs for the global picture of AIESEC exchanges. I'm not really shocked here, of course, to see the decline. What a past 2 years that we've been in. And other little side note I will make is that there has been a global timeline shift. So there's only a month difference. The new global timeline has changed to be July 1st to June 30th. So it only applies to this last term, but just making that clarification. So there's a month difference in this data. Biggest thing to note though, right, is that we've dramatically decreased in exchange because of the pandemic. The Global Teacher began in this year in the 19-20 term with 19 students signed up to go abroad on it. And the Global Entrepreneur Program, which was the program where a student would go and work in a startup abroad, was closed with the value proposition being consolidated in the Global Talent Program. So that's why you'll no longer see the yellow bar, is because that program was shut down. And secondly, we have realizations. And this is when the students realize on the ground in the country of origin. The main thing you'll see here is, of course, there was a dramatic decline in the pandemic where many of these approvals here in the 2018 term did realize. But however, since the pandemic started in March 2020, many of the EPs and the students in the approval side did not actualize and did not land. Many of these students who are going to go abroad, their opportunities were closed because of the borders restrictions, the J1 visa ban, and that was the reality of why many people did not actually go on the exchange opportunity. And we had one lucky person who realized on the professional teaching opportunity in 19-20. And then we turn to look at AIESEC US, what's going on. I split it in 2 different ways. So the first is the incoming side of our operations, the people who are coming into the country. And the blue, the top bar, the blue bar, is our professional traineeship program. The green is the Global Entrepreneur Program, which we no longer run. And the red is the volunteer program, the incoming Global Volunteer Program. So main things you'll see is that the past 2 years, no surprise, have been quite low. And the approvals that you'll see in the 2021 term, this last year that we're reviewing, were for one major account being UPS. So those were the 11 there that were approved. And then, yes, and big claps for UPS, I agree.
Thank you, Paul Hamill, for your legacy there.
Where's Paul? Round of applause for Paul.
Hey, thank you.
Yes. Amazing. And then so realization. So yep, those people are approved. They have yet to realize, but will soon for UPS. And the rest, as you can see here, is that there was just less approvals taking place the year prior, and also meaning that less people came to the country for these realizations, meaning which is why there was a large decline because of COVID. J1 visa was banned, which is the main visa we use for operations and bring people to the country. So all of these compounding restricted our incoming exchange last year. And when we turn to the other side of exchange, for the outgoing side, main thing you'll see here is that the Global Entrepreneur Program was closed in the 1920 term, and the professional teaching opportunity, Global Teacher, was opened last year. So we had 2 people. And while we were not running this officially nationally, there's organic interest from the student level. So these 2 people found AIESEC and said, I want to go on this, which is still cool to see. So yes, we had 30. Where's the math? We had a little bit over 40 approvals going outside of the country last year. And then for realizations, similar story here. Overall, there were similar stories on, although it wasn't related to J1 visa ban for incoming exchange, it was still borders being restricted, things changing all the time. Still, there were certain places and ways that we were able to send people abroad safely, but we were definitely not trying to push our limits on how and where and when we could send people to. So that's a full picture of the global and AIESEC US exchanges and approvals realizations. And I just want to come and touch back on the past 2 terms and the impacts of COVID on AIESEC US to date here. So just a reminder that in the 1920 term, the MC team, the full-time paid staff, was downsized from 9 to 4. The MC salary was drastically cut as well. We cut operational costs that were we cut all the costs possible is what I'm trying to say here. And we also consolidated offices between our global current branch and MC teams. We also used our rainy day fund. It was a rainy day, it came. So we used the 400,000 liquidated from the Vanguard to keep up the organization afloat. And we applied for certain loans and the CARES Act, did not get those unfortunately, but we were looking for different ways to gain in funds to the account. In the last term, we downsized the global current team to 1 person, 1 full-time paid staff. We collected, there was a lot of accounts receivable that was still in our books that we were able to go target. Most of it has either been written off or collected by this point, and we collected over 50,000. Oh, look, a little green line there, not sure. We chose to not pay the global affiliation fee to AIESEC International. This is still something that we will have to pay, but in the moment, it was not something that we chose to do, given the financial state we were in. We wanted to pay that off later. And then lastly, we liquidated another 150,000 from the Vanguard account for keeping up our operational costs. Currently, we have 25 LCs. I will also say, I know that from the past, there has been a decline over the years, a number of LCs in AIESEC US and globally too. This is, while still small, it is quite large in terms of total LC count globally. There's also a varying level of engagement depending on the LC across in different areas. I'd say around 14 are what I would consider engaged and highly active. And the other amount of LCs, they have varying realities. Some are getting now support from the expansions initiative we have because they are very much operating like a new LC. They might have a couple people. And so they're getting a different type of support in terms of really focusing on recruitment versus another 14 who are more active and engaged and are kind of following the typical ebb and flow of operations in AIESEC US.
A quick question that Eric had for you. What about Michigan?
Michigan as an LC, what's their current state?
Yes.
Yeah, Michigan, they just won LC of the summer peak. They're quite engaged and strong. Just had a call with the LCP an hour ago, and they are planning kind of a pretty large recruitment. They're one of our largest LCs, around, I'm gonna guess there's a list somewhere, but around 30 people. So that's, yeah, engaged active.
Yes. But Haley, I think we're only showing 24 versus 25 on this slide.
Oops, okay. Sorry.
That's what I think the question is.
Then it is 24. Sorry about that confusion. And sorry for my cough. Okay, any more questions? Go blue, yes. All right, so other thing to note that this is our, as of spring 2021, ending that semester, this is our current membership counts. Before recruitment, we were walking into the semester with 237. Post-recruitment, so after the main peak around March and April, we had 336 members across the entity. And after the semester, when people left the LC or graduated, etc., we had 284. So in terms of just speaking on the larger trends of membership over time, we are at the lowest point in AIESEC membership in the past decade, also potentially longer, right? Looking past that. However, in terms of the trend of drop, we have more so plateaued than starkly declined like the past 5 years or so. So while this isn't a large number and we want to grow AIESEC US, we're still grateful to have 284 committed AIESEC members through a pandemic sticking with us and all the challenges too. As a reminder, this was our structure last year. You know, we had our four core MC members for the full-time paid staff, and we managed another layer of MC directors. And these MC directors worked under us in terms of more functional expertise. So we have more of an operations team and a back office talent management team and LC health and finances, as well as a LCP coaching team working with Renee as MCP. So that's what we also try to do, is like, how can we innovate? How can we have more hands on deck in this time where it is for MC members, but how can we expand what we can do in our impact? And so we had some people from AIESEC US and from our LC stepping up, as well as abroad. And in sum, there's, I tried to nail it down to a few main bullet points of the main challenges and accomplishments of the 2021 term. Although it's hard, right? It was a past year of a very crazy time that we were living in, but I tried highlighting it the best I could. So the main challenges we're seeing, which I would say is a challenge and an opportunity in this one, but it's the virtual touch points. AIESEC US, that we've known it, has always been physical and social and meeting each other physically. That could not happen last year. So we 100% virtual touch points with the LC level and all of our conferences. And we tried adapting those to be shorter and easier and still fun and engaging in a time where they're also in school and Zoom all day. The J1 visa ban, again, I said this a couple times, but it was banned from fall 2020 to March 2021, and that meant absolutely no incoming exchange from the global current or MC operation sides, and that has always been for the past long amount of time the main source of our revenue collectively. So that severely hampered an already challenge to be with borders. So of course, in turn, we had revenue, restricted revenue streams and low cash flow. And with the 4 full-time MC members, although we have this other layer of MC directors, that that's still a learning curve. Definitely seeing how to manage that and how to manage it effectively. And it was always a constant decision of what to prioritize and what do we need to deprioritize. How does this AIESEC US need to evolve and change in a time that is definitely different than the year before? And thus, like, we have still, there are committed people in the organization and very passionate people, but still engagement was low. It was a difficult time, even personally, for a lot of students. And that was a result of that. Main accomplishments, however, we collected a lot of money that, was just waiting to be collected from the past of 50,000. That really helped us carry forward. We created new systems, we innovated in how we did things, and we created another layer of MC directors. The main program that we were able to run in that time was one that we hadn't ran yet. We hadn't opened it. So we opened a new program at this time of the Outgoing Global Talent. A side note is that we've done it in the past 5 years or so. It had just been all moved away from the LC level, and it was managed by a couple people at the MC. So this was now an effort to now spark and open at the LC level, running the Outgoing Global Talent, the Outgoing Traineeship Program. So 10 LCs opened that. keeping our biggest IGT partner, UPS, thank you, Paul, and 23 out of 25 at that time, LCs with an LCP elect. So despite the challenge, there's still a lot of people who said, hey, I want to step up and be a president of ISEC. All right. And then lastly, yeah, making it through the term with still many LCs and passionate ISECers is still a huge accomplishment and a challenging year. So that's what the main points are for the 2021 term. And just a big shout out to these, the three people I got to live with in the past year, and then also who welcomed in the new team with open arms for this year. All right. Okay. And then we're going to change chapters. And now I am excited to share the next chapter, the way forward for my team, MC 2122, our main updates and things that you should know. So here is my team. This is our management team, the 4 full-time paid MC staff members. We are an AIESEC US team. However, we are all from different places in the world. We have Emma from Puerto Rico, who's from AIESEC in Puerto Rico. Marina she's from originally Bulgaria, but she studied at Washington, DC, one of our LCs here. And Emerson, he's originally from Malaysia, but he studied at Eau Claire, one of our LCs here too. So what I would say is like the perfect representation of what the United States is, and they're really great people to have here. And then we also have a team of 12, I counted before this, of 12 MC directors from primarily around the world. Most of the countries you can see here, Canada, Mexico, India, Belgium, Indonesia, and one from our LC in Austin, Texas, Nicholas. So we have another layer that supports us again this year. And what we've been going through for the past 3 months or so, we went through our team-to-team transition and the end of May. We had some global summits we attended, and we began our term earlier than most years on June 1st. And it was fully this year, my team kind of by ourselves starting things off and having our MC directors and a seater to help us like an intern to help us in delivering our exchange operations during this time of transition and planning. We went through our team planning, we had our board meeting, we had some summits with the LCPs and the global conferences, just got out of our summer national conference with our membership online, and we're here today at the stakeholders meeting. So that's kind of the crazy summer that you expect in AIESEC US the past 3 months. And also another thing I want to point out is that we last year created a 5-year direction for AIESEC US. Despite being in a turbulent time, we still wanted to commit to a vision and a direction collectively as a team for 5 years, a longer term direction. And this is what it looks like. So our AIESEC United States mission is that AIESEC United States shapes the leaders for tomorrow. By 2025, our aim is to facilitate a fulfilling global learning experience for youth in the US. And we will do this by ensuring quality delivery of our programs and post-AIESEC success. So a couple clarifications, the youth in the US is the people that we impact, like the people we bring in from other countries and the people who are in the United States currently. And we are valuing quality delivery and making sure that they're successful after the AIESEC career too. Vision is that we believe that youth leadership is the key to a better future, and we provide a fun yet fulfilling platform to unlock it, really valuing the fulfilling the professional development you gain here, but still the fact that you're working socially with other people, and it should be a fun experience to be in. And we have some goals based upon our exchange program and membership net promoter scores. I'll explain in the next slide a little bit more about that. And we're working with AIESEC Life to create more of a metric and a system for measuring post-AIESEC success, a little tricky, but still the main thing is that we're working closely with AIESEC US to make sure that we're really valuing the whole experience of an AIESEC member and from their time in AIESEC to after AIESEC. And when we're talking about net promoter score, it's a kind of a externally used metric to measure quality delivery of programs and services across industries. So the question we ask is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend AIESEC to a friend or colleague? And through calculations, you end up with a score that tells you you might have severe need for improvement, or it's great and you can improve, or it's good and you can get to great. So it gives you a way forward either way. And From there, from our 5-year major direction and idea for contribution, we then sat down in planning over the summer and looked at the state of the world and the context in front of us and AIESEC internally and externally. And I won't read over each point, especially for the external, you're here with me. You know the state of the world and kind of the things that are impacting us today. Internally, though, the main things we were seeing for sure, while many, but main points were we're decreasing a membership over the past 5 years. It's not necessarily just a COVID problem, but something bigger than that that we really hope to address. We have low incoming revenues, albeit we've cut cost immensely. Low brand recognition, we cut a lot of marketing efforts as well and the effort to cut costs, and that does have impact, right? And also there's a global repositioning of our brand for AIESEC globally. We're shifting how we do things as the world changes, and we also have to adjust to that internally. And main thing I'll point out externally, I will say, is that our 25 LC universities are returning physically fall 2021 in some capacity. There's hybrid circumstances. There's also circumstances where people from the LC level all live in different cities, or some are still abroad. So we're seeing things reopen in different capacities and maybe different mandates, but that is something that's definitely different about this term going forward. And so when we asked ourselves, if everything else in AIESEC US were to stay the same, what 1 or 2 things, if changed, would make the most impact? And that is where it led us to our wildly important goals, the 2 main things that we really hope to accomplish in the next year. And the first one is to increase leadership pipeline to national and local roles from AIESEC US talent. We highly value the people coming from different countries and different perspectives to help us out. That is beautiful. I think one of the most beautiful things about AIESEC is that global perspective. But we still want our people to be so engaged and enthusiastic about the organization that they also are stepping up and getting these leadership opportunities. So that is one of our wildly important goals, as well as increasing the quality experiences of our membership and exchange. Yes, we want to have more and we want to grow, but we also want to do those experiences well. And so that's the bottom line here. And so taking from those 2 main goals, the 2 main things we hope to accomplish next year, we then end up with our main projects. And there's 2, again, 2, repositioning and restructuring. And while there's a lot of text on this page, the repositioning is really just positioning ourselves to a professional leadership development focused organization, focusing on the quality of our programs and shifting a little bit more to the business to business side. So how we portray ourselves externally to the external world and partners, and supporting that shift at the national level to then better support what the LCs are also hoping to do on their end. And then on the other side is restructuring. We hope to, also help LLCs enter into a new, different type of environment that's still different, and physical activities are coming back. And so some things we also have to adjust, and not just returning to what AIESEC US always has been, but also adjusting to how the world's changing. So main things we're looking at here is increasing and having more and better quality middle management opportunities at the local level. So not just going from member to VP, but having another layer. Boosting our education cycles for the programs shift, bringing back national conferences, and relooking again at the membership. Well, first introducing a membership program. Globally, this is a new shift where it's not only the exchange programs, but there will be a membership program. So it's putting the same value and emphasis on the quality and experience of the member as exchange participants, and making sure that we're aligned to that, and are also changing our value proposition in a changing time for membership. And with that, this is what our fall is looking like. First, IGT, the Incoming Global Talent Program, a traineeship program, is our focus program nationally and locally, and we will be allocating more resources in respect to that. Still opening up the outgoing programs. This is also a reality at the local level too. This might be something that's more able in their university at the current state. So the professional business internship program and the teaching program outgoing. And also running alongside that, ways to engage externals, engage with AIESEC activities at the LC that they're passionate about. We also at this point where we drastically do need to bring in revenue to the organization. So nationally, we're focused on bringing in sales from incoming global talent, Luckily, we're seeing more demand this year, especially compared to last year. With the J1 visa being banned, now that's no longer the case, and we're seeing a lot more reach out for this, and we want to allocate ourselves and our resources appropriately, make sure we manage those accounts well, work alongside alumni for support, and also have 2 seeders, like interns, that will work with us for strictly sales purposes. LC development is its own box. It's very important. So supporting LCs running new programs, bringing in membership as a program, and supporting in the training of this another layer of organization. And then lastly, physical touch points, bringing back conferences, bringing back kind of like the excitement and spark a lot of people get from being an AIESEC and meeting other people at the LC level. So we're preparing to deliver a physical national presence retreat for LCPs in November. Have a few coaching visits to visit the LCs physically. We cannot do a million. We can do 5 in the fall with our resources and our people and time and money, but still really valuing their ability to come and be hands-on with LCs again. And then in spring, we're looking to have a spring / like the next semester, a WNC, main winter conference in January for the executive board, and a spring conference in March for all membership. So not fall, but I wanted to put it on there. And then lastly, I touched earlier on the impacts of COVID on the organization in the 19-20 term and the 21-20 term. And last, I just want to follow up with what it's like now, what has already happened in this term so far. Our office contract at the WeWork, was a co-working space, expired. We wanted to get out of it earlier. We fought in every way possible. We couldn't. So we moved from our 14-person office to a 2-person office to save cost, really just having a space to store things. And we did now sign a debt repayment plan with AIESEC International for the global affiliation fee of $48,000. That is due by June 2022. And our current debt is at $127K. So this is, still less than half of the total debt, but we do need to be cautious in how quickly we pay this off, given our current financial state. But still, this is going to be due, and we do want to make an effort to start paying it off. Speaking of the current financial state, that's what I will bring up here. And this is quite open and transparent, but I do want to do that with you all. This is our current accounts, our state of accounts, in terms of our liquid assets and unliquid assets in the Vanguard, our investment account. And you'll see here that there's a difference between the total and the usable. We've declared that there's a $400,000 that we do not want to touch in the next year, or really ever here. We do not want to touch that $400,000. And if it gets to the point where that has to be used to reopen or restart the entity, it will be. But we do have a usable $200,000 that luckily has gone up in the pandemic, knocking on wood, but it's been looking pretty good. So with what this looks like is that we have the 2 months of liquid assets in our accounts, our checkings and savings, before the need to dip into that additional Vanguard fund. And with those additional funds, this puts the organization with 6 months of usable funds to operate with our current burn rate of expenses. So with this, it's quite open and transparent, but that is the world that we're living in this pandemic. And the bottom line really that you'll see here is that we're at a critical point. Like we were at a critical point last year too, in terms of change, like making very difficult decisions and restructuring our organization and condensing and saving and collecting, accounts receivable. But we really now need to generate revenue. There's not much we can cut or collect. It's a point of a really big turning point to generate revenue. That's why you see in a lot of our plans, like we're focusing our support for incoming global talent sales, which we're seeing demand in, and we need to be able to capture that and allocate our support appropriately. And also boosting the excitement and the growth of sales culture at the LC level too. And I just want to hone down on that too. Like it's extremely important that we bring back the culture and excitement and enthusiasm at the LC level, make sure it's a place that, although the world has changed and people's priorities changed, they can still find value in AIESEC here, and they can find a community here as well. And again, we know that we can't do this alone necessarily. This is also why I highly value you all coming here and showing up, because I see the after many years of being in AIESEC, the deep passion you all have for it too. And I wanted to let you know from my perspective, the main ways that could really, really help AIESEC as an organization get through this next year, not just crawling through the next year, but also going beyond that and thriving. So the main ways that we're really seeking for help in the next year is if at your company are seeking talent, or if you know someone in your network who's also seeking talent to take trainees. I know many of us have gone on a traineeship or know someone who has, and those opportunities are still as valuable today. And so that is one way that drastically could help. If you could donate personally or through your company, if there's a matching program. And again, if there's anyone that you know that you think that you maybe just think, hey, I think this person could be really helpful for AIESEC US, I'm not sure, you can definitely leave me a message too. These are the type of support that can go a huge distance. I'm being really honest, can make a huge difference in the organization in the next 6 months and next year. And I also wanted to be really simple too, like there's a survey here, a few questions. This way I can also kind of see what type of help is out there and follow up with you and talk with you more about it. And also specifically, if there's interest in trainees, you can contact my VP of Operations, Emmanuel. And for everything else, feel free to contact me as well. So that was a review, of the past year and kind of where we're heading out in the future. You can see there's been, I would say, different and unique challenges in the past year, but still like a group of AIESECers who are passionate and committed to make it work, just needing to be a little bit more honest and transparent about the help that we need to get through it. So with that, I will lend my speaking time. Oh, no, I have more slides. I just wanted to end this all with a little bit more clarity on the structure of the team, being the core team, who are staff in blue, and I'll have another volunteer that will be working with for business development, a large operations team from all over the world, a team for local community development and expansions, talent management, etc., and for finance. So yeah, that is our full team that you'll see here working to make it happen. And with that, I think that we will also have time at the end if there's more questions for AIESEC US or AIESEC Life. But for now, I'll pass it over to Maggie to talk about how else alumni can be engaged.
Great, thank you.
Stop sharing.
Thank you, Haley. So Haley took you through a lot, and I don't have as many slides, but we do have a few things we want to share with you, how AIESEC Life and how AIESEC US work together and different ways that you can get involved. And please, Haley and Marina are on the call now. So if there are easy questions, things that popped up in your mind that you want to pop in the chat, I think between Haley and Marina, as I'm presenting, they can answer some of those questions for you. And then when we're done here, we'll open it up for Q&A so we can have a bit more of a discussion. So as you all know, AIESEC Life is the alumni association for AIESEC in the United States. We are our own 501c3 founded in 2008. Our mission is to unite AIESEC US alumni and AIESEC alumni living in the US to harness our shared experiences, beliefs, capabilities, and capital of trust to better our lives and make a difference in the world. And we also support the activities of AIESEC US. And we do this through our three pillars of connect, collaborate, and contribute. A couple of highlights that I just wanted to share with you. We do have a new mobile app that we launched for our platform. So if you go to the App Store, if you have an Apple, or if you go to Google Play, you have an Android, you could download the AIESEC Life app. It's really handy. You could check in, you can become a member, you can look up your friends, all from the ease of your phone. So we're very excited that we were able to do that and offer that to our members this year. That's the way you could find all your friends on this cool global map that we have. We have over 4,000 people in our database, and that is growing every day. One of the wonderful things that you could do through this app and on our platform is to offer jobs. We've had all kinds of alumni post jobs where they work and looking for other AIESECers to fill those jobs. Alumni, students, whatever it may be. You could post an internship, a job, and it's a great way to skip a lot of the other HR channels that you may typically use and come straight to our platform where you can hire an AIESECer. So we want to make it kind of like a little mini LinkedIn universe just for AIESEC people looking for opportunities. We also had AIESEC Alumni International join us on the platform this past year, and you'll be seeing more and more international AIESECers every day as National Alumni Associations join and their members become active on the platform. So you'll be seeing this grow quite a bit over the next coming weeks, months. One of our programs is our annual mentorship program. And I have Nancy Gamble, who's a volunteer team member on my crew. And she's going to just speak a little bit about the mentorship program and sort of where it's at now and how we're looking to change it going forward. So Nancy, if you're on the call still.
I'm here. Hi, everybody. I'm Nancy Gamble, and I help Maggie on the national team, and my main focus is the mentorship program. And I just wanted to take a quick poll, not an official poll, but if you know how to use the reactions button down in your bottom menu, let me know if you've ever been part either on the receiving end or as a mentor in this program in the past. I just want to get a gauge of how many people are aware of the program and have participated in the program. Haley has, Andrew has, looking around, but there's a lot of people who haven't, and I want to just tell you a little bit of thank you, Chris, and of course featured here is the illustrious Peter Stewart in the photo. This program is a national program. It has originally been designed to help the current AIESEC students be matched with an alumni. It's a 6-month program. It involves kind of a commitment level of 1 call per month. These used to be, more in person. We are just doing it obviously by Zoom and phone now, but that hopefully will go back to some in person. But one good thing about COVID is you could be matched with a mentor outside of your local area. So that really gives students who make the choices, by the way, they pick the mentor from a list of people who have indicated on this platform that they would like to be matched with a student. So the power is really in the student's hands, but they now have the opportunity to pick somebody in a completely different part of the United States. Maybe it's based on their business background, where they went to college, what level they rose to the AIESEC system that might attract them. So we really want to emphasize that everybody who might be interested in being a mentor, please go onto the platform and complete your profile, having the most detail, having a link to your LinkedIn, having information about you and the business that you run, the work that you do will give that information to the student so they can make really wise and meaningful choices, as the end of the year will be the time that they can run those searches. And then we keep a spreadsheet, and we ask everybody to make 3 in case somebody's already taken. And then we match them, introduce them, and then it really is kind of self-running after that. They are given curriculum each month that they can use as a guide to their calls. However, if anybody who's participated can say, sometimes you just talk about whatever crisis is at hand, whatever problem they may be having, either in the university, picking a career, going on first job interviews, all of those topics can come up when they come up. So we usually get between 30 and 40 matches per year. And one thing that we are going to do to expand this program is to offer alumni to alumni membership. So it won't be available this year just to the students. So if you have ever felt like you could use a mentor, or you'd like to mentor somebody who's maybe well into their career, this is an opportunity for you to participate. And you do have to be a paid member from both the receiving and the giving side. So we hope that this is also a little bit of a revenue builder as we, create these meaningful relationships. We've got graphics. We've had 31 successful matches this year, and we had a very minimal cost for the students, but they did have to pay to be on the platform. We as an organization do have to pay for every person who has an active profile, so we can't give it away. But the value to what they received was well in excess. It's a great program. It's a great way to keep students and mentors engaged and connected. So I hope that you will all look for my email around November and consider taking a mentor or being a mentor. And that's all for me.
Thank you, Nancy. And I can say for Haley's been mentored by an AIESEC Life alumni in the past, Ian Kawashenki, who's a former MCP. So Renee. So it really is a way to help build those future AIESEC leaders. We could see them coming through the mentorship program. So it really is a huge benefit to the students. Quickly, I just wanted to let everybody know we had our summer internship program. We started it in 2020 as a reaction to the pandemic. When students couldn't go overseas on exchange, we had a group of alumni who said, well, you know, I can hire students here. I can hire domestic interns. And that happened last summer. And we saw it was so successful that we did a repeat of it this summer. A lot of the students had other opportunities. Thankfully, they could go back on campus. Some of them had their own internships lined up, but we did offer another 18 successful internships this summer. We added a whole new component to it. We had a think tank team out of Wisconsin that managed a whole series of interns for a bunch of different alumni bosses, if you will. We created a comprehensive handbook for both employer and intern. And one of the things that we offered this summer was our Workshop Wednesdays. It served as a training tool, not only for our interns, but for all the AIESEC US plenary and our alumni as well. We've had, at the end of it, we will have had 5 really interesting panels, everything from diversity, equity, inclusion to collaborating in a digital world. Fantastic alumni panelists. It's been a really exciting program, and I'm glad that we were able to partner with AIESEC US to offer that to students. On our call, Peter Stewart, who is the chair of the AIESEC Life Board of Directors, has had a great experience serving on BOAs as hiring trainees. So I'm just inviting him to speak a little bit about how important it is to be a board of advisor for an alumni to step in that capacity, as well as hiring AIESEC exchange students for global talent. So Peter, if I can hand it over to you for a little bit.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for joining, and thanks so much for caring about AIESEC. As you can tell, and you heard from Haley and Eric, you know, they've been through the ringer here with COVID, as have a lot of us personally and professionally. So we can all relate to this human condition that we've been through. One of the topics that I'm really passionate about, and I know many of you are on this call as well, like Michael Flood, who's joined here, is alumni joining board of advisors. And the reason why this is so important is they're not board of directors, they're board of advisors. And it's all about giving advice, support, encouragement, and reinforcing the AIESEC vision at a local level. And you know, I experienced this myself when I was in an LC where we had a board of advisors, and you know, the alumni that were on there were so helpful to us, and you know, gave a balanced perspective. So for those of you that are already on a BOA, thank you so much for doing that. It makes a huge difference. And for those that aren't yet on a board of advisors, I'd really strongly encourage you to look into it if you can. Certainly having an LC in your local area helps, but there's ways to join these days virtually as well, since you know the new hybrid work, you know, most meetings are going to be hybrid going forward. So the days of like only having a local BOA aren't there. And then the last thing I'll say is just you saw that there's a new focus or refocus on incoming GT for a lot of those older alumni. This was a huge focus during our days in the 80s and 90s, and I'm super excited to see more focus, the pendulum swinging back towards this. You see Paul there at UPS with his trainees in Atlanta. I've had the pleasure of having trainees from Germany, Brazil, and Norway. And we've hired one of those trainees in Brazil to help with our South American expansion. So this is a great opportunity to help. Maybe if you can't take a trainee, then help on the BOA, or if you've been on the BOA, and you know, I just say there's many ways to participate. If you yourself in your company can't take a traineeship, is there somebody in your professional network that you maybe could talk to about the traineeship program? So just 2 quick notes there, and I'll finish how I started. Thanks for your time today, and thank you for looking at ways to help AIESEC in their time of need here.
Thank you, Peter. And Peter just exemplifies all of those wonderful things that alumni do for so many students by taking trainees from around the world, being on the BOA. It's such an integral part to keeping these LCs together and a sense of continuity for them. Something that's really sort of high on my list is our Global Day of Giving is Giving Tuesday. This year it falls on November 30th. And I've partnered with AIESEC US for the last couple of years to raise funds. And this year, I've been speaking with Haley, and they have a very strong interest and desire to get back to in-person conferences. I mean, I know with COVID and the Delta variant, I know a lot of things are in flux and changing, but we are going to stay positive and hope that come next year, there will be a couple of in-person events. So we're going to focus our Giving Tuesday efforts this year on raising money to send students to conferences. And here you'll see it costs about $350, the delegate fee per student, which covers the price of attending the conference with the meals, accommodation, and just the distributed costs of being in a venue. The dates that Haley mentioned earlier are Winter National Conference. They're shooting for January 3rd to 7th in person. They have a couple of cities that they're looking at, I think Chicago, Tyson's Corner West, it was in Virginia, and also potentially Atlanta. So if you are alumni in those areas, interested in possibly sponsoring these conferences, that's a great way to give back to AIESEC right now. Or if you can't, please, on Giving Tuesday, you're gonna see lots of emails from me. You're gonna see lots of communication through Facebook and Instagram. We really hope that you step up and support this cause for AIESEC United States. They're gonna focus their training at these conferences on sales training, time management, and leadership development. I think all core things that I think alumni would find very important for students to learn. Before I introduce my last guest, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody on this call. I looked at the list, and the majority of you are already really active members of AIESEC Life. You are part of our premium membership. We can't do this without collecting dues from members. So thank you so much for being a paid member. If you aren't, please do join us. Your membership allows us to do all of these programs and offer all of these services, not only to alumni, but to AIESEC US and all of the students. And as we've already discussed during this call, there are so many different ways to get involved, whether it's taking a trainee or speaking to somebody you might know who might be able to take a trainee, donating on Giving Tuesday. We have a dedicated AIESEC US donation page on the AIESEC Life website. You could go straight there after this call if you're interested, become a board of advisor for an LC, become a mentor, like Nancy talked about earlier in our talk. The last person, Ken Phillips, if you're on the call, I wanted to invite Ken to speak to all of us. He's been an amazing person for me to collaborate over the last couple of years. He has done almost everything you could possibly do as an AIESECer. He truly lives the AIESEC life. He's a mentor. He's hired students. He is an ambassador for AIESEC Alumni International. He gives financially, and he just has always a lot of wonderful words of wisdom. So I was going to just invite Ken to say a few things before we open it up for Q&A. So Ken, if you're here, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yes, I am. And can you hear me? Oh, great. Maggie and Nancy, I mean, seriously, you two are just doing amazing jobs. So I thank you on behalf of, all the alumni in the world and the United States for all you're doing. My time in AIESEC actually began exactly 60 years ago, when my girlfriend and I both had traineeships in Switzerland and Germany, respectively. And we spent the last couple of weeks visiting family and friends in Germany. That was the beginning of this long journey. I'm just so proud. It continues today, and I'm learning, seriously, I'm learning as much today from what I'm doing as I learned as a student. And this is a clear message I really want to share with our other alumni. It's not our world. It's the world of youth. They're the ones who are going to be here, dealing with democracy and totalitarian governments, dealing with planet warming, dealing with all of the other crises we face. They're the ones who are going to inherit this. They need to inform us. So my learning continues with interns and with mentees. Since 2016, I've had 6 mentees, and I learned seriously as much from them as they learned from me. There's so many. Camille now working with an NGO dealing with trafficked women. Wendy, who's doing more work with AI, with AIESEC now. My current mentee, Ani, who wrote to me a couple months ago now, said, Ken, I've just read your book on leadership. I think every young person in China should read it. Can I translate it? Oh my God. So, you know, mentees, they do so much. And the ones I mentioned are truly amazing. And my interns, the interns who have worked with me last year, Natalie Song, who did work on youth organizations, Haru, who did work on on research for ethics, Isha, who helped me with social media, Molly, who did social media work. All of these people learned a lot, and I gained a lot, and they learned how to work with the supervisor. I mean, hey guys, I've got 60 years of supervisory experience, and I can give them a little bit of help, and they, have said they sort of like it. But again, I get so much benefit from them. This year, Abby is doing amazing work, helping me in my own work with publications and books. So, yeah, the translators, that's the other part of it, the third level. 3 AIESECers are now in the midst of translating my books. Leah has completed the French translation, is now being prepared for ebook publication. God, thank you, Leah. Ani is doing it in Mandarin. Oh my God. Carlos, who's an alum, Mexico alum, AIESECer now in Canada, is doing my book on strategies. And each one of these people I'm engaged with, I'm talking with them, I'm learning from them. So mentoring is the first of my steps that I counsel how to become a leader. Mentor and you will learn, mentor and you will grow. Be mentored and you will grow and you will learn. So mentoring is like the fundamental, and it's been with me all through my life. I think everybody who's listening should step up right away. Board members and alumni, step up to be mentors. It's going to benefit you. And I love what you're talking about in terms of adding young alumni and older alumni. I mean, mentoring is who made me who I am. I've learned so much from it. Oh my gosh, my dream. I have a lot of dreams for AIESEC. One of them is, let's say 400 mentees from alumni this year and 400 students as mentees. And then mentoring would become part of the core program. You join AIESEC as a member, you will get a mentor. Holy mackerel. I think that would generate a lot of interest, especially from people who are serious about their careers. So my dream, long time, is thousands of mentors. My second dream is, and I saw this in Romania years ago, the alumni in Bucharest would give the graduating local committee members a certificate of completion. So my second dream is a certificate of leadership accomplishment as someone emerges from the AIESEC youth program into the AIESEC alumni program. And it could do whatever you want it to say. My third dream is the AIESEC Business Academy by alumni, for youth, for other alumni. We all learn from the experience in AIESEC as being a leader. And I read what they do at business schools today. I wouldn't trade my AIESEC experience, my AIESEC MBA, for any of the other degrees available. Now, final point on money. Every time I counsel and work with an NGO, I really expect every board member to be a significant contributor. And so I hope that will happen here. I also expect alumni It's time to pay back. And it might be $500, it might be $1,000, it might be $100. This is the year that AIESEC needs it. And you know, what I've just heard from Haley gives me so much confidence. I mean, I was going to open up by saying, Haley, you made me fall in love with AIESEC again. It's so exciting what you're talking about. You've demonstrated the leadership we need at this point through the strategy, the repositioning, the teacher's approach, the innovations. God, this is, you could fly high. I know that. So let's support her. Let's support what they're doing. I will. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Ken. It's always inspirational to hear from Ken. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And we have time. I see that there are questions in the chat, but Haley, Andrew, and Eric, if you're still on the call, if you're willing to entertain any direct questions from the audience, I'm happy just to invite people to raise a hand or unmute and ask your question. I have a question for Haley. I love that one of your goals is in-person conferences for all of your LC members. That's awesome. But as an MCP, I wish for you, I hope for you that you get to actually experience an international congress, whether it's, president's meeting or international congress in person. Do you have any sense if that will happen during your term, or have they not really come to any kind of decisions yet about international conferences?
Good question. It's a bit of I will also say it's been a dream of mine since I began AIESEC to go to international conference, and it's definitely been difficult in the past year to see that. I also know that AIESEC International is cautious about opening up international conferences because while like the US has its one story of COVID and how we're moving through it, globally there's a huge socioeconomic difference in the countries that do get vaccines versus don't. And I think they're trying to not leave a lot of countries behind. So I understand the reason, but so far there isn't a lot of, there most likely won't be an international conference in my term. There may be a regional Americas, like Latin America and Canada, maybe a regional conference in November. Potentially, a big potential, where I think I'll understand the news tomorrow. So I will have more word on that. But yeah, maybe not international conference. If it's safer, I want to meet up with some people that I've met online. But yeah, it might be until 2022, the end of 2022 or 2023 when that's more regular again. Yeah. And I saw Michael's hand went up. Michael wants to ask a question.
Yeah. Hi, Haley. Nice to see you again. So my question is really on the incoming global talent program, as that's going to be a focus this year. So obviously we saw a substantial drop in what we were able to deliver due to those, due to the visa restrictions, et cetera. But what is your perception of the market as it stands today? Like, what is your perception of companies' desire to restart internship programs, and who are our competitors and how did they fare during this time period?
Great question. Yeah, and I will say that it's definitely, I think it's quickly evolving is the main thing I would say. It went from a state of absolutely no demand because of severe border restrictions, J1 visa being down. However, in the past couple of months, I would say there is now a labor deficit in many industries, and some of which we don't necessarily service, like the service industry. I didn't mean that to be a pun, but we don't necessarily place people in jobs in restaurants globally. They're in more developmental journeys and internships. But there's a lot of industries, like I think the manufacturing industry and a couple others in different layers of the organization that are seeking more talent. I hear this. I think this is a regular conversation I have with Andrew too, from his eyes. Maybe he could speak on to what he's seeing, but there is increased demand. Myself or my team does get a message in their inbox like every other day from someone who's interested. And that was never seen in my time in AIESEC, honestly, even when things were open and free and clear. So there is increasing demand. That's like the light at the end of the tunnel that I'm seeing here. In regards to competition, the biggest thing I would say for competition is that AIESEC is a unique program. What we offer, it's a program of purpose of cross-cultural exchange where you return back home in your country afterwards. That is not always a company's unique desire, but where it does fit, it can fit well. I think, like Peter mentioned, and placing people in Brazil and different international offices. So from what I do know, there aren't a lot of direct competitors in that space. More of the competition lies in very professional and very, what's the word? Non-student-led organizations that do this job very well for the past many years and have high response rates and reply within 48 hours with many profiles, things that we can't necessarily match in terms of expertise and skills, but are placing people in more high-level positions that are the role and purpose is to place them permanently in that organization or have the ability to stay on in an H-1B long term. So it's just different. We do have a niche, I would say, but there isn't, from what I've seen, other than maybe international internship programs through universities, but the whole purpose is cross-cultural exchange. There isn't a lot of direct competition there. Yeah, great question. Does that good? Clear thing?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. And Ken.
All right, this is more first a recommendation and then a question. With every client I've ever worked with, I would end a session like this with, please remember to send out that formal request to everybody who is participating today to ask for their 500, their 1,000, their larger, whatever they can give. Ask them to push. That's my recommendation. My question is, will you do it? If so, I will respond.
Well, if you say it like that, of course, Ken. Yes, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Great question, thanks.
Who should help you? No question.
We will
We all
definitely,
benefited. Let's pay back.
thank you, Ken. And you inspired us last year at the same meeting. And yes, we will definitely follow up with exactly that. So I appreciate that comment. Thank you. This is your chance to ask Haley a question if anybody wants. Don't be shy.
I have a question. The direction that AIESEC US wants to head and being a professional organization, more of a leadership growth organization, is that a direction that is global to AIESEC, or is it something that AIESEC US is doing?
Yeah, thanks, Samir. It's a global direction. So I've seen a shift every 5 or 10 years or so. There's a shift in program focus or main value proposition, but the core focus globally is leadership development, and and that can look different. And I think the approach definitely is happening globally in this way because not every country can run exchange operations in the same capacity, certainly not, global volunteer. So we're looking at more ways globally to develop leadership in different circumstances and contexts. So the way we adapt that in AIESEC US might look different. Like we're still seeing value and focusing in the incoming global talent program, but there's other entities that the variation globally. There's a lot of variation globally in what people exactly do, but the core focus is on how do we develop young leaders to then take action in the spaces that are most relevant for them. I think Ken mentioned very imposing challenges like climate change, things like this. How do we develop young people to have those skills and do that where they desire and please and can have the most impact. So yes, yeah, global direction.
Thank you for responding. I did notice I was in AIESEC, and at that time we had the focus for as a management or leadership development organization for students, and that did also help raise sponsorships and traineeships from the corporate sector, because that's what they were very interested in investing in. So hope that happens again.
That's a good point. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, thank you.
Haley, you touched on a little bit about Global Volunteer. It's a program that is being reduced not only in the US, but globally, correct? The Global Volunteer Program is going to be taking the back seat. And not only in the US is the IGT going to be focused on, but globally, that's also somewhere that AIESEC International is looking to expand. Is that right? And reduce the volunteer program worldwide.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so definitely globally, the Global Volunteer Program is going into dormancy. Is rather, taking a little rest. In this past year, AIESEC International and the global focus has been on global talent more so, and we're seeing many more entities open global talent and focus on global talent. Whether that direction will stay necessarily in 2 or 3 years, I'm not quite sure, if I'm being honest. It's definitely the movement, the mass movement now. But I think a lot of entities also pivoted out of need, a drastic need in the Global Volunteer Program going dormant, where that was where they generated most of their revenue. So they pivoted in that state. But in terms of long-term, what do they desire to run in their country for value? It might become Global Volunteer in the future. It's not necessarily AIESEC International's long-term direction of global talent as a program itself, but diversifying the different programs that globally entities run. But for AIESEC US, we're declaring that is our focus, global talent program. Yeah, good question.
And there's actually a question in the chat from Rebecca. How do you get involved with your BOA in your city? Or from Natalie, any BOA if you're willing to travel. And I'm also going to throw in there, what about virtual? Like now we've learned over the last 18 months, so much, you don't necessarily have to live in that city to be an asset to an LC, say Georgetown. You live in Florida, but you want to support the LC in Georgetown. That's where you come from. Can a BOA do it virtually if they're not in their city? And how do they get involved?
Great point on the virtual aspect. I think that, yeah, many LCs have gotten used to doing virtual touch points with their BOA. I still think there's high value in having a large proportion of that BOA be physical for when things can return physically and meeting a person and maybe LC visits and sales trainings, etc. But I still welcome, I think that would be ultimately the LCP's decision if they're, like someone who is remote but deeply wants to help that LC, like help is needed for sure. In terms of getting involved, I'm the main contact. So if you want to reach out and say, hey, can you put me in contact with this LC? How do I sign up? I'm the main person to reach out to. And I did list out the contact information earlier for who to contact for what. I think that's helpful. And then also Peter put a really great guide for, it's a BOA guide for LCs that the alumni helped create. And so this is something I'll repost down here just so it's easily seen. Oh, no, I copied someone else's message on accident. Sorry about that. 1 second. Okay. Trying to do many things at once. There we go. Okay, that's the one. So if you want to visit here and kind of see what does a BOA responsibility look like, what's the purpose of it, what would you be doing, and how is it created, that's more so on our end. This could be helpful. So just want to give this as a resource to look through if you're curious, and then ultimately contact me and I can help with more information and putting you in contact.
And just be forewarned that there are some LCs who I think do quite a good job of using and interacting with their board of advisors. And there are some LCs that need some work. So thank you to Michael for being very persistent and patient, because I know Michael's reached out to his local LC to try to help on that front. So my piece of advice is please don't give up. The LCPs changed. So, if right at this moment, you're not getting that feedback that you're looking for, you're hoping for, it could change, right? It could change. And that's the goal, to get the LCPs and their EBs better in contact with Board of Advisors and to really utilize them, because there's a lot you could do to help and aid them through this very difficult time. Anybody else have a question they want to ask or anything you want to share? I can't believe Greg Lampert doesn't have a question. That's shocking to me. Or Chris Gassman. No comment?
I'll just set another challenge. I mean, Haley, it would be the best possible visitor to any LC in development anywhere in our country. What's that worth? The local board of advisors can come up with $1,000 to make it worthwhile. If she says no, it's going to be $5. Come on, let's get up for it. So put a price on your visit. You're worth it.
I would like to say something. You all seem to know each other, and I don't know anybody here. I'm Barry Weiland. I live in Florida. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Barry. Hi.
Yes.
Hi.
Where in
So,
Florida are you?
huh?
Where in Florida are you?
Hollywood, Broward County.
Nice. All right.
So I didn't even know that AIESEC was around. I'm quite pleased to hear that it is. I was president of Northwestern AIESEC in 1970, I think it was. And I had an internship in Belgium. And I sort of lost track until a couple of days ago. An old friend of mine from college, Brian Browse, sent me an email. And I figured, what the heck, let me sign up, find out what's going on. So I'm happy to see that there are some enthusiastic and energetic people still working with and for AIESEC. So, I'd like to keep in touch and learn more.
Hey Barry, this is Greg. I just passed through Hollywood last night at 8:30. I'm over here in Naples, so you will hear from me.
Barry, hi, it's Kathy Shelton, and I went to the University of Illinois, Chicago, starting in '78. And I saw you on this call. I saw your name, and I was thinking that name like rings a vague bell, but I couldn't place you at all. I really don't think we've ever met, but Northwestern in 1970 to Chicago area in the late 70s. I don't know. It just seems like your name was familiar, and or somewhat our paths may have crossed, or your legacy may have lived on, one of those.
It may have.
So,
after I graduated, I worked for Johnson & Johnson in Lamont and Hinsdale. And my wife went to Northwestern, and then she went on and got an MD, not an MD, a master's and a PhD from U of I.
Oh, interesting.
So her name is Diane. So maybe you ran across that name somehow, somewhere.
Were you involved in alumni activities at all in the 70s in the Chicago area?
We've been going to, I think one year I was raising money. We've been to not a lot of reunions, but we try to go to some big reunions. In fact, I have my wife has a 50th coming up, and I have one next year. Is that right? Wow. 72, yeah. Oh my God, time flies.
Well, welcome to this august alumni body.
So Barry, a lot of us didn't know each other until we ran into each other at one of our alumni events. So welcome to the gang. You'll see it's kind of contagious once you get reconnected back to AIESEC. That spirit and passion are just really unique. As Ken said, we wouldn't trade our AIESEC MBA for anything. And I've got a top 20 MBA from a top school. I didn't learn nearly as much from that as I did from my AIESEC days.
And lots of generations, but all with the AIESEC spirit.
Indeed. Your buddy is actually on here, Brian Browse.
Brian's on here?
He was chatting away. I don't know if he may not be able to talk.
Yes, I'm on here.
Oh, hey, Brian.
Hello, Barry.
Thanks for hooking me in.
You're welcome.
So guys, this is Alessio here. I've been hearing this whole stakeholder meeting. I don't know, some of you know me, some don't. Definitely, we met with Peter and Ken. I was part of the previous MC team of 2015, 2016. I was the business development, and so that's where I met a bunch of you at the stakeholder meeting and the MC board meetings. So really exciting to see how AIESEC is doing. I was after I left my term, I was traveling a little bit around the US and then end up in Italy. And when I was hearing about the news, that the visa were banned and all of that, I was thinking about AIESEC and how the operations are changing. And I'm glad to see that you guys were able to still keep the operation going. It must have been really hard. So I can't imagine. Congratulations, Hattie, and all the team and the previous team as well. So great stuff. And I can tell in my short AIESEC story. After AIESEC, I founded with a bunch of other AIESEC at a company. Moved. I'm gonna marry my wife next year. No, actually, not next year. I'm sorry. In 3 weeks from now, I was thinking about other things. And
you better get that straight quickly when you're getting married.
Yeah. No, I mean, we had to postpone the wedding, but anyway, all the MC team of 15-16 will be reunited next 3 weeks from now in Italy. That will be excited. And yeah, so I'm here in Dallas, Texas, moved permanent over here with my wife. She's from here, and we have our company office over here. And also I'm working with the SBA, the Small Business Administration, and the Small Business Development Center as their economic development support for the Dallas College area. So I reached out to Haley, and if they need any support from an institutional point of view, educational point of view from the Dallas College, there are a bunch of programs they are launching for work ready and student incentive and all of that. So definitely, yeah, you guys can use me as support over here.
Hey, so Alessio, I just introduced you via email to Patrick Evans, who's on the AIESEC Life alumni board. He just moved from Houston to Dallas.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to seeing a picture with the two of you having a drink here soon.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We reach out to him right after, and probably meeting him after mid-September after coming back from Italy, and then go from there.
And congratulations on your upcoming wedding, and glad to see you back in the US.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Maggie, one more thing. It only dawned on me strangely about halfway or more through this call, of course, that this is the stakeholders meeting, and for 10-ish or more years, I have had the pleasure to host the post stakeholders meeting cocktail party in New York. And I don't know why it took it so long for that to occur to me, but it's great to be able to be with everyone here on Zoom, and certainly looking forward to the days when we can do this again in person. But it is great that everyone is able to get together here on Zoom.
Yes, and thank you. Huge thanks to Kathy, because she organized so many of our post stakeholder meeting receptions in New York City. That's where I first met you in person.
That's right, indeed.
Definitely. And of course, we have so many more people on this call than we would in person, but having a drink with people in New York City is always something to look forward to. So I'm hoping someday we'll be back to that routine as well. Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any more comments? And anybody have any other questions for Haley? Thank you for hanging with us. It's been wonderful to have you. I don't know if Andrew or Eric have any, or Haley have any final words you want to share before we sign off?
I'll just repeat the call to action you've heard from so many. I mean, as you can hear from what Haley's described, the vision is amazing, what she and her team are laying out. But the work that we can have as alumni to lean in and to be involved in any way that makes sense for where you're at is really the ask right now. So, as Ken said, he's going to be giving, I think, $10,000 after this call, it sounds like. So that's great, Ken. But no, certainly if there's any financial contributions you can make, connections you can provide, or of course, support to Haley and the team at the LC level or at the national level, anything would be really valued right now. AIESEC US is facing a lot of headwinds. Haley was very positive in her view, but there's a lot of headwinds the organization's facing. But as this group, this esteemed group of alumni, I'm sure, can pull together and certainly make this organization into a real moment for AIESEC in the United States. So thank you all for your participation, and really look forward to your continued involvement and engagement after this call today. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. We really appreciate you taking the time. So grateful for everything that you contribute to AIESEC Life and to AIESEC United States. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Haley. Great presentation, great update. And everybody stay safe. Well, hopefully we'll see you all in person someday soon.
Thank
Bye.
you all so much.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Nice job.
Okay.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye,
Bye.
Maggie.
Bye.